All right, so we're moving on to continuing with multiplying by two decimals, and we'll be multiplying with decimals less than 0. So let's jump right in with our warm-up. So it wants us to shade one column of a hundredths grid to model 1/10 and then circle 2/10 of your model for 1/10. What product of the circle is represented? Let me show you what we're talking about with this one. Let's see, I use some highlighter here. So it wants us to shade 1/10, and then it also wants us to shade 2/10. And what they're talking about here is like, where do those overlap? And they overlap right here. And we know that 1 square is a hundredth, so this is 2 hundredths. And we can also show this way. So we have 2/10 here in the green, and we have 1/10 here in the yellow. And we know that's one place value. That's another place value. So a total of 2 place values gives us that 2/10. So you can show it visually and then just show it the standard way. Okay. For the notes, go ahead and turn to page 329. And up here it says Harry has 5/10 of a bottle of water in his gym bag. The bottle holds 9/10 liter of water. How many liters of water does Harry have? So let's set this up. Now order doesn't matter, but as a habit, I just put the larger number up top. So we have 9/10 times 5/10. And 9 times 5 is 45. Let's figure out where we put our decimal point. I've got one spot. I've got two spots. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and land right here. So our answer is 45 hundredths liter. Because remember, the smallest number is the one that names our place value. So that's why it's in hundredths. All right. Now on the next page, it talks about like what we did in the warm-up. It says you can do this by using a area model, and the area here, for example, this is your answer right here. This is our, that's going to be our 45 hundredths liter. So where they cross over is the product for that. So the area of the purple rectangle is a product of 5/10 and 9/10. So that's one way to do it. You can also change it out so you can basically take the whole numbers out. For example, we take 5 and a 9 out of 5/10 and 9/10. And since we know those are tenths, we'll put these over here. But again, it's a possible way to do it, but probably not the standard way that we want to be focused on. But let's do the notes on the next page. Look at picture it to find 5/10 and 9/10 with an area model. First, show each factor on the grid. Each row and each column show 1/10. So what factor do the shaded rows show? So the rows are basically rows are left to right. So that shows us 5/10. Columns are up and down figures, and for those that are shaded in the blue, that is 9/10. How many purple squares are there? There's 45 purple squares. And since each square is worth 1 hundredth, that means it is 45 hundredths. How can, now below that on the previous page, how can using the commutative property or changing the order of factors help you multiply 5/10 and 9/10? You can rewrite the problem. Complete the following equation. We know 45 times 1 hundredth will give us 45 hundredths. Both picture and model show that 5/10 and 9/10 of a liter equal 45. Why do you think the product of 5/10 and 9/10 is less than 9/10. That's a good question. Because we are taking less than a whole of another number that's less than a whole. So 5/10 of 9/10 is a smaller product. The smaller product, and when I say that, smaller product of 9/10. So it just makes it simple. But you can show that with the area model where you take those two and where they show that if you're taking a fraction of the amount, you're going to end up with an even smaller amount. Okay, let's skip 7 and let's turn to the last page to do those 3 examples. What's the value expression 6/10 times 8/10? Show your work using the area model. So we could simply do this. We're actually going to do it 2 ways. So we've got, let's see. Oh, let me use highlighter here. All right, so here is our 3. And here's 6/10. And let's show 8/10. It's not working out too well here. All right, so where they overlap is right here. This area right there. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We know 8 times 6 is 48, but we know those each individual one is at hundredths, so that should be 48 hundredths. But over here, let's show this. We have 8/10 times 6/10. We have 48. And we have this jumps 1, this jumps 1, 2. And that's 0.48 or 48 hundredths. Let me show that 2 ways. Rectangular painting is 6/10 meters long and 57 hundredths meters wide. How many square meters is the painting? So let's write it. All right. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 4 is 34. 6 times 0 is 0, but 3, got that. That's 2 place values. This is 1 for a total of 3. 1, 2, 3. And that is 0.342 square meters. Okay. And we've got one more, last one. What's the product of 6/10 and 4/10? Let's do it. Gives me 24. I've got plus 1. I've got plus 1 for a total of 2. Jump over 2 spots. 0 and 24 hundredths, which happens to be letter C. Okay. Let's look at the classwork for today. For this one, it's IXL I15, multiply 2 decimals, and where does the decimal point go? It's going to give you multiple options, and you can figure it out based on that. Again, just use the techniques we've been using as far as finding out how many spots you're supposed to be jumping over to get that answer.